Dear learners, I welcome all of you to NIS subject, Sociology subject at Senior Secondary level. Today we will discuss about lesson 3, that is Sociology and its relationship with other social sciences. As you know, Sociology and other social sciences, that is history, political science, economics, social work, psychology and anthropology, all are autonomous in nature because of their scope and subject matter, but at some time they are also interdependent since they all deal with human society. If we talk about history, it talks about the study of past societies where how humans were living. Similarly, in political science we are talking about voting behavior, and economics we talk about production distribution. So if we talk about production distribution, they are also linked to the human society. If we talk about sociology, it also deals with human society. So because they all deal with human society, so they are all interdependent. If we talk about sociology as subject, it studies the interaction between individuals as a member of society in different contexts, whether it is political context, whether it is economic context, whether it is talk about tribal societies. So here the individual as a member of society live in different manner, but they all deal with human society. They all deal with nature. So the context is always different, but it studies the interaction between individual as a member of society in different contexts. It studies the voting behavior of individuals during election. It studies the economic behavior in business. In sociology, it deals with how the human welfare can reach to different individuals. It also discusses the friendship and familial relations. If we talk about sociology, normally people talk that it talks about marriage, it talks about family, it talks about religion, it talks about. So in different contexts, it talks about how friendship and family relationship can be maintained. As I talk in consumer behavior, you can see how suppose a tribal society is there, and in tribal market you will find there are different the relationship between different individuals in tribal context is mainly social in nature. Similarly, if you talk about market, if you go to any kind of market, you will find that the interaction prevails between customer and the business person. So if you talk about the gender context is there, you will see the rural context is there, and the relationship between consumer and the business person is already there. So sociology and other social sciences have much in common, yet they are distinct from each other. They share a certain interest, concept and methods which are common in all subjects. Like suppose you talk about sociology, there is social relationship is there. If you talk about economics, the economic relationship is there. So there are some common methods there, but it also different that we'll discuss one by one. So let us discuss the relationship between sociology and history and how both are different and how both have relationship with each other. If we talk about history, it is a study of the past, where it talks about how the different civilizations are there, what are their market behavior, how they deal with different societies in that period of time. So when it comes about history, so data for historian comes from various past records in form of records. Its sources are from archives, museum, libraries, and personal collection of people. Suppose if one goes to museum, they will find that how the different societies are there in that period of time, how their dance pattern, how they are celebrating different festivals, what are their dress pattern, what are the customs. So we normally study in case of history. So you can find, suppose a person wants to study the kind of societies prevail during the Ashoka period, so they have to use the source. They have to go to the museum. So museum, archives, these are sources which are used by historians. And if you talk about historians of ancient times, they also study inscriptions. So historical data may not be complete, and some might have been destroyed, lost. stolen or accessible. Therefore, historians have to build up their interpretation of the past on the limitations of the materials. So whatever available data are there, they have to draw a conclusion out of that. So you can see how Ashokan inscriptions are there, and there are various inscriptions, like if you will go to Dhaulgiri in Odisha, if you will go to Sanchi, or you will go to Bodhaga, you will find there are many inscriptions. So if the historians have to study something on Kalinga War or something on Ashokan period, so they have to go to these inscriptions to study the different datas. So if we talk about historians, they are concerned with the specific societies. They tell about the system that prevail in a society at a particular time. And they can make a comparison of different societies which existed during the same time period or say at similar conditions. Suppose if one wants to study how the what kind of societies during Ashokan period in different parts of the India. So at that point of time, they can only make a comparison of that period, and also they have to see that the comparisons are made on the basis of similar cultural conditions. Like suppose one cannot study the dress pattern of Ashokan era with the 1000 years back. So they have to, if they have to make a comparison, they have to study the societies which existed during the same time period or similar cultural conditions. So if we talk about the limitation of history, you will find the vast comparisons of societies in different scale and time that cannot be studied by the historians. So therefore, historians rarely attempt to generalize about human society as a whole, and they only provide the detailed account of a specific social situation. If we talk about history with sociology, you will find, unlike history, sociology is principally concerned with the study of contemporary societies. And here, while sociologists try to study, they can study through different methods. They can go to the field. They can go to they can base their research on the available study material. They can also go to the inscriptions to study what are the societies prevail during the past time. So if we talk about sociology, suppose if they are not able to find some information, so they can go to the field area again and again to find the missing information. Suppose if a person, if researcher wants to study the poverty in a tribal society, so they can go to the field again and again to study whether the whatever they have studied that is authentic or not. But in case of historians, they can only they study on the basis of actual events of the past to establish how things actually happened. Like suppose if one want to study the social relationship during Ashoka period, so they can base their conclusion based on the available material. So they cannot go to the field and again because that kind of phenomenon does not exist now. So whatever exists during that period of time, so they can base their conclusion on that basis only. But sometimes, although sociologists study the contemporary society, but they always try to refer the historical material available on it for understanding social and cultural change. Suppose someone want to understand the cultural pattern in a northeastern society, Assam or Meghalaya. So they have to they can try to study the historical material available of Assam or Meghalaya, and they can to authenticate that they can if they want to relate with the past and present, so they can also refer the historical available material. So if we talk about historical, the difference between history and sociology, will find that history is morely concerned with the past, and while sociology is concerned with the present day societies. And similarly, history confines itself with the specific societies, but sociology attempts to generalize about human society. So if we make further classification, we will find that sociology studies at the micro level, but it aims at macro level, and So, if we talk about sociology, it studies a specific society in all its detail, but comparison is made between the others with an aim to generalize. So, but if we talk about history, its conclusions are bound by consideration of time and space. But in case of sociology, even they can also study the past societies and present society and and maintain a relationship between past and present society, and they can also make their conclusion. But in case of history, it is primarily a study of past societies. But if you'll see the contemporary historical research, you'll find that history has also become sociological. Like they try to study the social and cultural patterns, gender relationship, customs and traditions, other than the acts of kings and kingdoms and worlds. Suppose someone wants to study the social and cultural time of 12th century, so they can. So they are studying the cultural pattern. They are also studying how the changes have happened during different period of time. So now history has also become sociological. After this, we'll study about the relations between sociology and political science. If someone asks you what is political science, you may say that it may come to your mind that it is a study of state, government and other organs of power, and it is also beyond that also. It studies the nature of distribution of power in society, the nature of government, its legislative functions, executive functions and judicial functions. Suppose if you see the content page of your political science course subject, you may find the power of president, prime minister, and then Supreme Court judges, all are being there. And so here, as you know, we have the state and government, we have the central government, state government. It also studies the relationship between state and government. It also studies the power and functions of parliament and who constitute the parliament, like Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha, and how the Rajya Sabha members are being elected. So all these are being studied by political science. It also studies different legislations, rules, laws, amendments. All are also being studied by political science. If we talk about political science, it mainly concerned with political institutions, but in case of sociology, it does not give primacy to any particular institutions. For sociology, all institutions are equally important because each contributes to on its own significant way to the functioning society. If we talk about society, it has there are political institutions, there are economic institutions, there are there are economic institutions. So for sociology, every institution is very much important and each one contributes equally to the smooth functioning society. So therefore, for sociology, political institution is one of the institutions of society and should be analyzed in relationship with other institutions. But there are one branch of sociology that is called political sociology. Like there are economic sociology, there are also political sociology. So political sociology studies the specialized study of political institutions. Like it studies how the social basis of distribution power. It studies the gender relationship in a power sector. It also studies that how different system of laws try to mitigate social evils. So when someone understands political sociology, so they study all the things like how the 73rd Amendment Act drives to get equal power structure, schedule, how reservation in politics help in development of social circles. So these are being studied by political sociology. As I told you, like question dealing with relations between social stratification, distribution of power, role of taboos, the place of kinship and gender concerns in the political system are sociological questions. So sociology and political science are very much related. Like the voting power, now you can see more and more women are coming to the power sector, and this is the sociological questions. The sociologist tries to study how the vote patterns are there. You might have seen after election in the news analysis, it come to that how which party got voting share of scheduled castes, scheduled tribes, and women. So these are sociological questions that are being that are studied by political sociology. So, but if we talk about the relationship with both political science and sociology aim to reach general propositions about political system, but the way in which they accomplish this task is different. Like if you talk about political scientists, they will say that man is a political being. But if we talk about sociologists, they tries to explain the social aspect of man as a political being. It studies micro units, systematically compare them, and then reach propositions. Now we can discuss about the relationship between sociology and economics. As I told you, economics studies the aspect of production, distribution, exchange, and consumption in society. It always says that resources are scarce and limited, whereas human needs are unlimited. Hence, there is a need to strike a balance between limited resources and unlimited ones. And like if you go to the rural area, you will find that the price of vegetables are very less. But if you go to the urban area, you will find the cost of vegetables are very high, because so here the production, distribution, and the demands, so that really work. Even you'll go to various metro cities, you will find that there are a lot of vehicles and the traffic jam is there. But if you go to the rural area, you will find the traffic jam is not there, the congestion is not there, the density population are very less. So the market, though, even if you'll see the relationship between customer and buyer, you'll find the customer and the business person, you'll find shopkeeper, you'll find the relationship is also very different. Like if you go to rural area, the relationship between shopkeeper and customer is very informal. But if you go to urban area, you'll find the relationship is also a very much formal relationship. Like the shopkeeper does not know the customer also. So the seller and buyer relationship is very much different if you see the urban area and rural area. As I told you, the economics is concerned with the relationship between demand and supply, the rational use of resources for fulfilling one's need, and issues of economic development. As I told you, in case of political and sociology studies, political institution as one of the institutions. Similarly, in here also, sociologists try to study economic institution as one of the general institutions of human society. So here, sociologists try to examine the functioning of economic institution in relationship with other institutions. So here it says that how social factors exercise a tremendous impact on the decision people make with respect to resources, their use and distribution. The sociological perspective looks at the economic behavior in a broader context of culture, norm, values, and interest. Like you might have seen, like when Holi and Diwali are there, you'll find the festival market is there. And if we talk about Indian society, it is more of festival market. Like you might have seen in various localities, like there are some business community, they are not stick to a particular kind of product they want to sell. So based on the different festivals, they try to sell their product accordingly. Like suppose if you see the Holi, during Holi time, you'll find the kind of selling is going on is different the time of Diwali. So in Indian society, the market, the economic behavior is majorly more of cultural in nature. Like even you go to shopping complex, even if you go जिससे आप shopping mall जाते हैं, आप देखेंगे वहाँ पे कि जैसे न्यू ईयर आता है तो वहाँ पे देखिए वो जो मॉल का जो सजावट है वो तुरंत बदल जाता है. या आप होली के टाइम जाएंगे तो देखेंगे वहाँ पर भी सजावट चेंज होता है. सिमिलरली आप जब देखेंगे हमारे जो बॉलीवुड इंडस्ट्री, आप जब देखते हैं, जो फिल्म इंडस्ट्री हमारे देखते हैं, फिल्म इंडस्ट्री में देखिए जैसे बहुत सारा मूवी जो रिलीज होता है वो भी फेस्टिवल के हिसाब से रिलीज होता है. होली, दिवाली, दशहरा ऐसी देख के ही होता है. So if we talk about sociological, sociological perspective tries to examine the economic behavior in such a context of culture, norms, values, and interest. Dear learner, we had till now discussed about the relationship between sociology and history, sociology and economics, and sociology and political science. So we can take a break now, and after that we'll discuss about the relationship between sociology and social work, sociology and psychology, and sociology and anthropology. So we'll discuss this one by one. If you have any kind of doubt, you can ask us on the telephone number, or you can also ask us at aosoci@nius.ac.in. So now we can take a break, and after that we'll discuss about the relations between sociology and rest of the social science subject. So thank you.
करने राहों को आलोकित करने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने. की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो, संसाधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो. कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो, कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो. मित्रों हम उठे और जागे, मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने, हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने राहों को आलोकित करने. राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर, शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर, शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर, दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बात कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने, हम अपना जीवन स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने, कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने,
Dear learners, till now we discussed about the relations between sociology and history, sociology and political science, and sociology and economics. In case of sociology and relations between sociology and history, we discussed about how history is the study of past and sociology the study of sociology study the contemporary society. We also discussed how now history has also become sociological as it studies the customs, traditions, culture, gender relations. In case of political science and sociology, we discuss about how political science studies the state, government, and the power relations between center and state. There is also political sociology as a discipline, a branch of sociology where political sociology studies the gender aspect of voting behavior, the reservation system, and we also study in case of economics, like economic studies, the production and distribution and consumption, and sociology studies economic institution as one of the institution of society. But sociological perspective of examines economics in terms of economic behavior, and it also understand how culture relationship prevails in case of economic system. As I give an example, how Indian society, Indian economic system is more of culture centric, where the kind of market changes, the market behavior also changes during the festivals. Now we'll discuss about the relations between sociology and social work. If we talk about relations between sociology and social work, it is like the relations between pure science and applied science. Social work is concerned with the technology of application of ideas for improving human life. Social work is dependent upon sociological insights. Sociology generates holistic knowledge about society. It also discusses about the possibility of applying this knowledge. The branch of sociology that takes up the area of application is called applied sociology. Like suppose when a social worker goes to the field, they tries to understand what is poverty and what is the social aspect of poverty, and the social aspect of poverty is being studied by sociology. And but how the poverty has to be eradicated, so that kind of knowledge is being generated by social worker. So while social worker goes to the field, they tries to take sociological insights, they tries to understand the relationship between different aspects of society while trying to eradicate poverty or trying to give solution for poor people. So if you talk about difference between sociology and social work, social work is attempt to explore the areas where sociological knowledge may be put to use, but sociologists themselves don't carry out the action. So because sociology is more of theoretical in nature and social work is more of applied aspect of it. So what should be the nature of action and how it should be carried out are the areas that interest sociologists. So suppose if we talk about the juvenile delinquency, or if we talk about crime. So what is the reason of crime? What are the how the criminals have to be wiped out? That are being studied by sociologists. On the other hand, social workers tries to not only plan action, but they also carry out the result also. Therefore, social work is truly speaking is an applied area. It is the technology of action. Like suppose sociologist tries to understand how crime happens, what is the main reason of juvenile delinquency and how the juvenile delinquency has to be eradicated, the measures it tries to give the theoretical understanding of how it has to be wiped out, but social workers goes to the field and tries to give the solution in the field. So therefore sociology and social work has a major very much acute relations between each other. Now we'll discuss about the relationship between sociology and psychology. If we talk about social sciences, the individual and society are the two main concepts of social sciences. So the discipline that focuses on individual is known as psychology. In psychology, we normally study the mental structure of the individual, his memory, intelligence, deep-rooted complexes and psychological problems. Suppose we are trying to understand juvenile delinquency. So juvenile delinquency both has psychological aspect and sociological aspect. When a person tries to understand the juvenile delinquency from the psychological domain, they tries to understand the more of the individual, as the individual, what kind of issues they are being facing. But if you talk about social aspect, it talks about how isolation is there, how different, how neighborhood plays a role in making a person juvenile delinquent, how the familial situation also there, familial situations also one of the issues for making juvenile delinquency. So it is being studied both from the individual perspective and also from the social perspective. So when it is studied from individual perspective, it is psychology, and from when it is studied from social perspective, it is sociological. So psychology tries to understand why an individual behaves in a particular manner. It studies the mental aspect. So in addition to making qualitative assessment, it also makes the quantitative techniques for its measures phenomena in precise terms. So for understanding certain psychological phenomena, knowledge of the human biological system is also required. The psychology pays attention to the understanding of human body, especially nervous system. Suppose if a person want to understand the intelligence of a system, so there he tries to also understand the biological aspect of it. What are the genes? What are the future generation? Or the past generation? So all these are being studied by psychology. So psychology is the study of psychic facts, the facts that pertain to the mental structure of the individual. But in case of sociology, it studies social facts which are of continuing entity called society. So they are the ones according to which people behave in relationship to other. We can take one example which will clarify the relationship between sociology and the distinction between sociology and psychology. Suppose a court is in a session and the accused lawyer and judges are discussing the case. So the rules according to which they would decide the case are of interest of sociologists, like the rights and duties of each of the members involved in the judicial process are also of sociological interest. So in short, sociologists are interested in the totality of the judicial process. But in case of psychology, they are only deal with particular individual phenomena. Like suppose a criminal is there. So to study the criminal from different perspective, so sociologist tries to understand its economic aspect. Sociologist tries to understand its political aspect. Sociologists try to understand what are the familiar relationship. But in case of psychology, they only stress to what was going on in the mind of the criminal. Why? What are the mental conditions of that person during that period of time, which prompted that person to commit the crime. So from here we can able to understand what the relationship between sociology and psychology. So sociology understand the psychic aspect, sociological aspect, while psychologist tries to explore the psychic aspect of that particular case. So as I told you, like sociology studied the social fact, while psychological perspective tries to explore the psychic facts. Similarly, we can also talk about the language, like language that can also be interpreted in different manners. So like suppose when a person tries to explore from the social relationship angle, so that is most of social fact. But when a person tries to relate one individual to other individual, that is mostly the psychic fact. Now we can discuss about the relations between sociology and anthropology and how sociology and anthropology are related to each other. If we talk about anthropology, it is a study of biological and socio-cultural aspect of human being. It is a scientific study of man in all its dimensions, both biological and socio-cultural perspective. There are different branches of anthropology. One is physical anthropology, or physical or biological anthropology. Suppose if suppose one tries to understand a disease, so they tries to see the biological perspective. Like they go to that area and they try to relate that individual with his past generation, one generation, two generation, three generation, four generations. So they try to see how that particular disease is passing from one generation to other generation. You might have seen in particular tribal society they face acute health issues. So when an anthropological person goes to the field and tries to see why particular disease is prevailing among particular tribal community, so it is the scope of physical or biological anthropology. But if you talk about social anthropology, it studies the social relationship, like how one tribal community is related to other tribal community, or what are the relations within the one particular tribal community, how they are helping each other during different festivals, during agricultural activities. So these are studied by social anthropology. But if you talk about archaeological anthropology or prehistoric archaeology, it studies the prehistorical things, like suppose one tribe has migrated to other areas, and so if a person wants to study how the tribal societies that their past from what is the place of origin of the tribe and why they have migrated, so it is mostly archaeological anthropology. Okay. So as I told you, social anthropology had its beginning as a discipline during the second half of the 19th century, but it came to occupy a respectable place in the first half of 20th century. If we talk about sociology and social anthropology, sociology is considered as studying complex, modern and urban industrial societies. But in case of social anthropology, it studies the tribal, peasant and pre-literate societies of the world, those societies that are largely untouched by the forces of civilization. Actually, sociology and social anthropology are more or less related, but there are very minor differences between both. If we talk about social anthropology, it mostly studies the tribal societies. Like if we talk about the division of labor that traditionally developed, was that sociology concentrated on the study of complex, modern and urban industrial societies, whereas social anthropology tries to study the tribal, peasant and pre-literate societies. But if we find the kind of transformation happened in social structure, that has really defined the nature of relationship between sociology and social anthropology. Now even social anthropology have begun studying urban and industrial societies, state and globalization that were supposed to be studied by sociology. Suppose you might have seen that no doubt the pace of change have really transformed the rural areas into urban areas. But there are still there are some societies they have become urban. They are in the urban area, but still they are practicing the old customs and traditions. So if we'll go to Delhi NCR, particularly if we'll go to the Noida and Greater Noida West area, you'll find the difference, the physical difference between the rural area and urban area is also very minute. Like you'll find the one on the other side of road, you'll find the malls are there, but other side you'll find the villages are still there, and their economic standard also like not that much well off like tribal areas. So you can find the new dimension have come up while they're in the rural areas, but they're also practicing the urban area life. So therefore that has become more interest to social anthropology. Social anthropologists are not related only to the tribal area, even they are also trying to study how globalization and state politics have really transformed the tribal areas. So there is a very thin differences between sociology and social anthropology. Similarly, sociology also tries to understand tribal and peasant society, ideal society and culture of modern Indians. They go back to the tribal area, they find why migration is happening, why different evil practices are still happening. So these are all studied by sociology and social anthropology, and you will, if not only in sociology, if you'll see the different subject, you will see now even the economics. Economics as a subject, they also go to the tribal area. They try to understand the tribal economy. They try to understand the how political ecosystem changes the tribal society. Like they go to the tribal area, they try to see how industry are being established in the tribal area, and how the relationship between sociology and economics is finding. So you can find lot of, so if you see a change, you can take the different subject, like you can, if you have chosen sociology, economics and political science, you can make an analysis of what is the commonality between three subjects and what is the difference between three subjects. So that will also help in building your own concept. That will also make the concept very easier for you. As I told you, like sociology and social anthropology being specialized in the study of different types, they contributed to the development of different theoretical interests. If we talk about the methodological differences, we will find sociology immensely contributed to the survey method of data collection, whereas anthropology contribution has been to the fieldwork methodology. But if we find out even in sociology, they also try to study the ethnographical study, and they also do in-depth interview, and similarly anthropology also study numerously in ethnography. But so they have a differences, but the relations between sociology and anthropology are also very much vast in nature. Similarly, anthropology also contributed immensely to the understanding of kinship and religion, because these two have been the institution of critical importance in simple societies. But on the other hand, they also study the social stratification, education and urban industrial society. If we discuss the relationship between sociology, social anthropology, you can find the similarity between them are very much important. Both study human society in a holistic manner, attempted to generalize. Both are comparative in nature. Both anthropology also compare between different societies. Sociology also studies the relationship between different societies. They also make a comparison. Therefore, Durkheim called anthropology as a comparative sociology. So, social anthropology also called as a branch of sociology, or as a sociology of primitive, where it primarily study the tribal behavior, the tribal economy, the tribal polity, and also it studies the past. So dear learners, in this session we have discussed about what is the relationship between sociology and history, where we have discussed about, so history the study of past, and sociology mainly studies the contemporary society. We have also discussed about how history has become more sociological. It also studies the culture, it studies the dress patterns, it studies the relationship between different societies. And we also discussed the relationship between political science and sociology, where political science is the study of state and government. It studies the power relationship between different societies. And sociology studies political institution as one of the institution of human society, and political science, sociology is one branch of sociology where it discusses the relationship between different politics, the relations between center and state, the relations between gender behavior in a particular political context. Other hand, sociological perspective tries to examine the political institution from the social context. We also discuss about economics and relations between economics and sociology, where economics is the study of production, distribution and consumption, and sociological perspective tries to study economic behavior from social perspective. Like if you talk about Indian society, the market is more or less culture oriented, where the market is more of festival oriented in nature. So it also studies, the economic sociology also studies the relations between different tribal communities, how they are helping each other, and how caste economy also prevails in the rural areas. We also discuss about the relations of sociology and psychology, where psychology mainly discusses about psychic fact and sociology studies the social facts. We have given an example of quote in session how sociology studies particular case in a holistic manner, while psychology studies the fact from the mental processes. And but so similarly, we have discussed about the relations between sociology and social anthropology. Sociology and anthropology, while social and social anthropology is more of studying the tribal peasant societies, and but the sociology studies the complex urban and modern societies. But social anthropology has also, with the change of time, the scope of social anthropology have also changed. Now they also are trying to study urban setting, the influence of politics, globalization on tribal societies. So, but the relations between sociology and social anthropology has become more and more thinner with the change of time. And we also discuss sociology and social work. While sociology is the theoretical aspect, social work is more of applied perspective of sociology, and it's more of application issue. So, dear friends, hope you have studied, hope you have understood the relationship between sociology and social, different social science subjects like history, economics, political science, psychology, social anthropology, and social work. Hope you understood it, and if you have any kind of doubts, you can ask us at email at aososci@nis.ac.in. I also request all of you that you must go through our Swayam platform, where we are trying to deliver different kind of some week-wise learning, where audio, video and PDF are there. You can go through that. Apart from that, you can go to different complementary material, like we are providing a learner guide in sociology. We are also providing a TMA, and recently we have also introduced e-library in NIOS. So you must visit e-library of NIOS, that is DIF, and tries to take more and more benefit out of learning resources that we develop time to time. So thank you very much.